I often hear people say that they don't have time to read. Like, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time to read. I never find time. I don't know how people read because I'm so busy. That isn't true. That is a lie you're telling yourself to help justify your addiction to your phone. I'm 99% sure that is the truth. Because most of the time when I hear people say they don't have time to read, I am so positive they have spent at least 1 hour that day scrolling through TikTok. And I think part of like being human is like realizing, well, yes, you do have that time, but you are the one in control of how you spend your time. So I wanted to make this little video today talking about how I read more. Like, I read 34 books last year. I'm trying to read 55 this year. I might not get there, but that's okay. How I read more by eliminating other bad habits that I don't want to do. If you don't know me, I'm Mike, better known as Radio Mike or Podcast Mike. I spent most of my 20s working on some of the biggest radio shows and podcasts in Australia as a producer. Now I run my own freelance media business. I have a YouTube channel and a blog and a podcast, and I also have this channel where I just do little videos like this and reflect on stuff that is happening in my life and stuff that I think are worth talking about. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more on my videos like this. They're just sort of low-key chatting to the camera videos, and I just want to sort of share my learnings and advice of living in this world as a millennial. I've identified the key reason why you can't read books, but I think it's worth explaining like why you should read books, whether it be fiction or non-fiction. Like, there is a huge advantage of being someone who reads. Like, first of all, think of all of the crap that you've been watching on TikTok today or yesterday or last week. Like, does any of it really make any difference to your life? Do you ever really feel better and more productive because you've spent an hour watching TikTok? The answer is almost certainly no. If it's yes, I'd love to know down in the comments. But I think when it comes to like reading, not only are you like potentially learning something new if you're reading nonfiction, not only are you like engaging with interesting stories and helping like ease your mind a little bit by reading like, say, fantasy or a novel or something like that, or learning about interesting people if you're reading memoirs, but you're also building this skill of like delayed gratification. The thing about social media and the internet is like everything is like dopamine right now. It's like bam, bam, bam. Whereas when you read a book, like you can't really read many books in a day. Often it's like a long kind of maybe a week-long thing that you're coming back to every day. And then you get like little bits of gratification, and then maybe you finish the book and you're like, oh, wow, that was great. And you ponder it and then you move on to the next thing, right? You're training your brain to delay gratification and do an activity that is so much more positive and rewarding than just scrolling on social media. And I think we all know that picking up a book and reading is better for us than TikTok, but all these social media apps and the internet, they're so good at sucking us in and hacking our brains, like literally hacking our brains to make us behave in certain ways. Like, if you're watching this video, you probably do want to read more in 2025. You just feel like a slave to the algorithm. So I think my first recommendation to how to read more is just delete TikTok and Instagram off your phone right now. I say this a lot, but I genuinely think that these two apps are two of the biggest contributors to like bad habits and bad habit forming and mental health issues in Gen Z and millennials. I say that because that's my personal experience. Like, I was addicted to these apps. I really still struggle with being addicted to particularly Instagram, but like I'm curbing that a lot. Replace the time you spend on those apps with reading. And like, even if you have to, start by reading books on your phone. Like, replace the TikTok app on the home screen or the Instagram app on the home screen and put iBooks there and buy a book on iBooks. And just every time your muscle memory naturally goes to open Instagram or TikTok on your phone, you'll just see iBooks and you'll be like, oh, okay, open it up, just read one page. Like, literally the best way to build this habit is just read a little bit every day. Just every single day, go to that. So if removing the app from your phone and replacing it with something else works, then that's great. Like, I did this with Duolingo. I put the Duolingo app where I had my Instagram app. Whenever my thumb would hover over to go to Instagram, it would see Duolingo. I would do a Duolingo lesson in Japanese. Now I'm on a 108 or 109 day streak with my Japanese. You know, that is replacing a bad habit with a good one. I think that is the key thing, is like freeing up your time. When you kind of get rid of these addictions, you'll suddenly realize, oh, I've got so much time on my hands. And you realize how much time you were actually sinking into that stuff. Now's the time where you can pick up a book and read, and put your phone away. Don't have your phone in the room. Don't have any devices or communication in the room. Just like go sit outside, go leave your house. Sit down in a park and just read a book. It is so therapeutic and so positive. The other way to encourage yourself to read more is don't read what like everyone's telling you should read necessarily. Read stuff that you genuinely are interested in reading, or read stuff that you have always wanted to read, right? I think for me, there were times where I felt like I had to read all the books that everyone else was talking about, but they never were like books that would get me into it. And then you'd get into like a slump with reading, and then the habit would die off again. Just read books that you would want to read. If there's a topic that you are interested in learning about, I'm positive there will be a book out there that someone has written that you can learn more about that topic. Go pick up that book. Literally, the other week I was in a bookshop and I saw a book about Korea, about like the history of North and South Korea. And that is something I've just always been interested in. I've always been like, what? Like, why is there North and South Korea? And why are they so different? What happened? Saw this book and I was like, great. Picked it up and I blitzed through it because I was just so interested in learning about that. So if there's any curiosity topic, if you're ever like asking yourself in day-to-day life, like, oh, why is this thing the case? Like, why does this happen? Why is this country like this? Why is this person like this? You'll find a book about it, and that's what you should read. That'll answer that question. You'll learn, you'll spark your curiosity. It'll just be a good thing for you to do, right? The same thing goes for like, if you want to read fiction, say you're a fan of Harry Potter, go and reread Harry Potter. Go and find books that people say are similar to Harry Potter. Don't worry about the shame of like, oh, but they're like children's books. Just read what you want to read. If there is a person you admire or look up to, they might have a memoir out there. Go and find it. If there's a band you like, maybe there is like a history of that band. Maybe the singer has done a memoir. Go and find that book and read it. Like, it is so enjoyable to just sit down and read a book, like a memoir, like anything. It is just so therapeutic, and those books will help you get into the rhythm of reading books, like, because you genuinely want to read them, so it'll be easier for you to pick them up. Don't go and read a book that everyone's told you is the best, and then you're like, I hate this, but I have to read it because everyone like, don't do that. Just don't do that. Read what you want to read. The last tip I have for reading more in 2025, which is maybe not like, I don't know if people agree or disagree with this, but here's what I actually think you should do. And for me, it was tough to get to this point. If you are not liking a book and it's not gelling with you, do not force yourself to finish that book. I don't know what it is with me, but I have like these completionist tendencies where I'm like, I just have to finish this book because I've started it and I can't leave it unfinished. Just do it. It was so hard for me to get into this mind space, but just like, once you are like, this is tedious, I don't enjoy it, I don't want to finish it, even if you're like 60% through, right? Just leave it. Put it down, start a new book. Who cares? Like, you've got everything you can out of that book. It's not doing it for you. Just leave it. Forget about the sunk cost. I think a lot of people are like, oh, but I'm like halfway through, I might as well finish. Just forget about that book, okay? And don't think, well, now I can't like count that to a tally of books. Like, this isn't about having a tally of books. It's about forming the habit that reading is a fun and pleasurable thing for you to do with your time, okay? It's about reading every day, and if something's not working, put it down, go read something else. Because the worst thing that can happen is you're forcing yourself to read a book, and then you just stop picking that book up to read it, and then you kill your habit, okay? Don't kill your habit. Keep your habit alive by putting aside books you don't like and just getting a new book and starting that. Who cares about finishing it? Just build the habit. So those are the 3 tips to summarize. Delete TikTok and Instagram and social media off your phone and replace them with books. Replace that time with books. The second one is read books about stuff you want to read about. Read books that you want to read. Seek out books about topics that you are interested in. Don't just read what other people are reading. And 3 is, if a book isn't working for you, just put it down. No shame. Who cares? Just get rid of it. Keep the habit alive. Don't force yourself to finish the book. Those are my tips. Would love to know yours down in the comments, and would love to know any book recommendations that you have. I might do a video about like the best non-fiction books that I've read over the last 30 years of my life. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe, all of the above. That's pretty much it from me. I'll see you in another video.